Hello there. In this video, we're going to go over your pit crew and general tips and tricks to getting good pit crew training. Going to be going over the sporting director, training schedules themselves, and as I mentioned, basically everything you need to know. If you do enjoy this video, please like, subscribe. With that said, let's just jump directly into the sporting director, which is a representation of everything your pit crew can and ever will be. Basically, your sporting director limits pretty severely how good your pit crew can become. And as you can see here, we have Wheatley, who is basically the best sporting director in the game. And he does have just 10 months on his contract. I just want to point this out. You can snatch this man up in your first save. Make sure you get him before the summer break, and your pit crews will have a much easier time. Now, in terms of what the 4 stats do, we can start with training. The higher the rating, the faster pit crew develop through training sessions. Basically, this means that training affects how quickly they gain stats, and also the less performance they lose between seasons means that when you switch from one season to the next, you're going to be losing less of your pit crew's performance. As such, this skill is actually very, very valuable and one of the most important ones. Aptitude basically means that a higher upper limit to the pit crew's potential skill, which means that aptitude kind of decides how good your pit crew can be, and you can actually see this numerically if you go into your pit crew screen, which we will go into development here. And as you can see here, our pit crew is 63 out of 100. Again, aptitude assigns this number. If your pit crew has or if your spawn director has aptitude of 80, 80 is the maximum. And as you can imagine, having a high aptitude means you can get a little bit better in terms of your pit crew. Leadership, probably the least important stat of any spawn director. Ability to manage the team through high pressure situations. Higher rating means a greater chance to minimize the delay from pit stop mistakes. Basically, this means that slow pit stops are less slow. It minimizes the time lost when your pit crew makes a mistake. Processes, the ability to develop and refine efficient workflows, high the rating, less fatigue that the pit crew gains from race weekends and training sessions. So basically, processes and training go hand in hand. Processes means less fatigue gain, which of course means you can train more. And training means higher efficiency from the training as well as less performance. So in order of importance, I'd say go for processes, training, then aptitude. And while leadership can be very situational good, it's very, very rare when your pit crew is very well trained anyways that you're going to have pit stop errors. So I'd say focus on getting processes and training up, and then your aptitude if you are getting close to reaching that gap, or invest in a better pit boss. Now, other than that, there isn't really too much to say about pit crew training. The main thing that you're going to have to focus on is very simply when you set up your training schedule, we want to go cumulative for the very simple reason that when we do so, we can see the gains and losses on every single day. So as we put in more pit stop drills here, we can see that our chance of a mistake goes down. We can see the well-rested status of our pit crew as well. And we just want to go ahead and set this up until we basically get close to the next race weekend. As you can see here is Bahrain. And as we get closer to it, we want to try and ensure that we go into the race with as close to zero fatigue as we can. Because we are going to get fatigue over the race weekend. But as you can see, even if we do one pit stop drill here, we're just going to be 1% tired. So we can actually add in an extra pit stop drill there. That makes the first month quite efficient here already by cutting down 1.5% the chance of error. Now, there is also another way you can increase the chance of mistake, or rather lessen it faster, and that is if you focus on particular pit stop drills. And in particular, the wheel gun is going to be your best source of just general lowering of the chance of mistake, but honestly, keeping it balanced also isn't a terrible idea. You're still going to try and get everything, high rated anyways. Now, the reason why we've elected to focus on chance of mistake rather than estimated pit stop time and car building is very simply the fact that, personally, I prefer to get this down to between 6 and 8%, as it drastically lowers the chance that we're going to have screw-ups during pit stops. Now, having quick pit stops themselves is beneficial in some ways, but the way that you gain pit stop time here, if we go ahead and switch this to gym training, as you can see here, and we go back to cumulative, we gain about 8 thousandths for a full day of training. In reality, you gain about 100 if you train for a full day, but every day it decays by 2 thousandths, the pit stop time. So even if we do start training early, it's not really going to matter much. You're still going to be losing time in the end. And you can definitely focus on estimated pit stop time, getting this time lower. during your first season in order to get a little bit extra money from the Pit Crew Championship. But keep in mind, it does come at a cost of higher chance of mistake. And personally, I would focus on chance of mistake first and then estimated pit stop time. But again, this is all up to you. The only thing you really are going to be focused on when you set up your schedules is just making sure that before you go into Bahrain, or any race for that matter, you have this number somewhere between 1 to 5%. And you can also check the Sunday. You don't want to go into wary territory this third bar, as that's massively increased the chance of mistake. And exhausted will even bring this chance of error closer up to 50%. So we want to avoid that. Now, car building is basically how quick your team is at switching car parts. It's that simple. It does not really have any effect on the front wing switch during races, as far as I've seen. If this is maximum or minimum, it still takes 7.5 seconds for the most part. What this actually refers to is how quick your team can switch, say, a damaged underflow during practice, how quick they can change your setups, and if you get this skill high enough, you can do more setups each practice session, basically. So that is the point of it. It's not very highly valuable, really, in my opinion. I'd say focus on chance of mistake or estimated pit stop time, whichever one of these you prefer, honestly. Again, the schedules that you're going to be seeing now are going to be focusing on chance of mistake, simply purely because my personal opinion is that it's best to get that done first. But of course, you are free to disagree and focus on the estimated pit stop time. Just remember that it's going to take probably a bit longer time, and you also do get quite a bit more fatigue doing so. So those are basically the reason why we focus on the chance of mistake first. We can get a lot of trainings mashed up close to each other, and generally also it's easy to lower the estimated pit stop time at higher levels, because once you get down to 2550, I think, it goes down from 100 for a double, or rather for a full day of training, to just 6,000 for a full day of training. I mean, you get only 4,000 gained, which means that 2 days off, that has been lost. So do keep that in mind. Other than that, there isn't really too much, crazy things going on with the pit training. But we will take a look at what it looks like at the end of the season, and then we'll set up the March schedule. And I'll go through kind of just broad strokes what my schedules have looked like, both with an amazing sporting director like Wheatley, but also with a lower rated one around the 80-70 margins. So let's have a look at those schedules. So at the end of the season, when you start your new one, your pit crew is going to suffer a pit crew loss of performance. And generally, that's going to be around 10% or thereof. At least with Wheatley, might be a little bit higher with other ones. You're going to lose about 10% of your current performance, and you're going to have to get that back in the 2 months leading up to the first race in Bahrain. Just to give you a better idea, this is where we are with having basically a better pit boss. 9.75% chance of error and 2.769 estimated pit stop time at the start of the 1st of January going into the new season. Now we're going to take a quick look here at what just 2 months of training can do for this pit crew, make it more competitive again. And here we are. In the first month, we basically are focused again a lot on getting that error chance down to acceptable levels. We are basically 86 out of 98. And we also have maintained the estimated pit stop time, as well as done a little bit of car building. And after our second month of training here, we are up to 6% chance of mistake. We also have 2,650 in terms of estimated pit stop times. And we're basically on a much better situation, honestly, than we were at the start of last season in terms of our pit crew. So this is basically how it's going to look at the start of the second season if you follow kind of what I'm doing. This has not been switching components. We have kept the same components in the car, only switched when we've had to. I can understand the desire to switch components to be more competitive, but generally it doesn't seem to be necessary right now. It might be necessary later. And honestly, if you're fighting to get your board position or, win a championship, then sure, go ahead and do that. Just make sure that you check after every race that your pit crew aren't getting overworked, because having a wary or exhausted pit crew going into race weekend can very well have you lose that, even if you are switching components. But yeah, that is basically it that I had to say for the pit crew. We are now going to jump along and have a look at the 2 sets of schedules for that first year. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here. But those schedules, again, are basically just something you can use as a framework if you wish. Generally, though, the idea is very simple. We just keep our crew well rested. We give them break days when they need it in order to maintain that. We get our chance of mistake down, then we maintain. and then we start working on the estimated pit stop time going into the race weekend, which hopefully under 5% fatigue. But yeah, schedule's up next. But before that, if you have enjoyed this video, please subscribe. And I'd just like to say thank you, and I'll see you next time. And there you have it. I try to keep it concise and just show the different schedules used over the course of 2 different seasons, both with a good and bad one. Basically, these are just examples. You can make your pit crew schedules as you wish. Keep in mind, though, that after Singapore, Brazil is going to show up on the calendar at the first day of a month. So be careful with that and don't overextend. But other than that, there isn't really too much else to say. If you have anything you're curious about, feel free to ask. And I probably will try and remake this video at some point, with the idea of seeing what you can do with a pit crew if you are switching components. But for now, this is for one that doesn't. Even then, the tips that you have gotten here in terms of dealing with fatigue should still apply. The only difference is that you still are going to have to go and adjust your schedule after every race weekend, just to make sure you don't get any excess fatigue. And over the course of the triple headers, you are going to get exhausted. You are going to end up potentially weary, so do keep that in mind. If this video has been beneficial or helped you in any way, please like and subscribe. That helps me out a ton, and I hope to see you around next time. Bye bye!